Hello, welcome back to Planet 40k. In today's video, we're going to be discussing 12 common errors that are made in combat with the Necron faction. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. So the first on our list is taking advantage of movement. So in this example here, we've got 3 Lich Guard models, and we've got an Eldari Guardian. Now there's a 5-inch charge to be made, and for the sake of this example, we're going to say that we've rolled a 9-inch charge, so we're easily going to be making this charge move. So as you can see in the bottom right of the screen, there is an objective available. Now a common mistake here is with our 9-inch charge to simply rush forward, straight in front of the Eldari Guardian. Okay, you get all your guys into combat, but that is the incorrect play here. What you should be doing is very simply surfing your guys round, making maximum use of that 9-inch charge movement. There is no restriction on actually having to go to the nearest enemy model. That's for later on in the piling and consolidation moves. As far as the actual charge move goes, you've just got to get into engagement range of the enemy model that you've selected to charge at. So in this situation here, with the 3 Lich Guard models, they're simply going to be surfing around, getting into engagement range, but also tagging the objective. That's the most important part in this example here, is tagging the objective. Now there doesn't need to necessarily be an objective there, maybe you just want to make ground for the next turn afterwards, but you can see with this example here that you can be surfing around a model and still be in engagement range. Then further to add to this movement, there's of course a 3-inch piling movement. Now this is to the nearest enemy model and it is done by model basis. So in this example here, I've actually managed to surf a second Lich Guard model. So now we've got 2 models that are within range of the actual objective, and the models that have decided to pile in have moved closer to the enemy model. Now it may only be just millimeters, it's all you need to do to be able to use that piling move. You can't go away from enemy models, but as long as the model has moved closer to the enemy model by the end of the piling stage, is totally fine. Then part C to this point is the 3-inch consolidation move. Now this is again to the nearest enemy model. This could get you onto an objective. Now the nearest enemy model may be actually away from an objective, so you just don't want to do that consolidation move at all. But it's another 3-inch that you can take advantage of in the fight phase. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your fight phase, it can also be your opponent's fight phase. On to number 2, a common mistake here is not knowing which units can actually activate, and very simply all units can pile in and consolidate even if they didn't fight. That's providing that they've made a charge move that turn. So the example I've shown here, we've got a Canoptic Wraith unit, we've got a Scorpit Destroyer unit, and we've got a Marine Dreadnought in the centre there. Now in this example, the Scorpit Destroyers have actually fought first, and they've actually removed the Space Marine Dreadnought. So they've done their pile-in, and they've now consolidated. Now the Wraiths have yet to be activated in this fight phase. However, they did charge this fight phase. So the question you're asking, what do you do with the Canoptic Wraiths? It probably comes up quite often in your games, and a lot of people don't actually know what you're supposed to do with the Canoptic Wraiths here. So in the core rulebook, if you look up the fight phase, you'll see a paragraph that says an eligible unit is one that is within engagement range of an enemy unit and or made a charge move in this same turn. So the and or part is very important here, because in this case the Canoptic Wraiths made that charge move this turn, so therefore they're eligible to be selected to fight. Now another paragraph within the fight phase of the core rulebook, when you are selected to fight, it first piles in, then the models can make their close combat attacks, which they're not going to be doing in this case because the Dreadnought's already dead, and then the unit can consolidate. So therefore, because the Canoptic Wraiths actually made a charge move this turn, they are eligible to make a piling move and then consolidate for free. So you don't want to be wasting that movement. There's a 6-inch movement there, make use of it. On to number 3, don't increase your charge range. This one's quite a common mistake from players. So increasing your charge range. How do you increase a charge range? So in this example, we've got some Triumph Praetorians. They've both got shooting attacks as well as melee attacks, and they're going up against some Khorne Bloodletters from the Demon faction. Now currently if they wanted to make a charge move, it's going to be an 8-inch charge, but we're still in the shooting phase at this stage. So they're going to be taking their shots with their Rods of Covenants, and in this example they managed to get 3 casualties from the Bloodletter unit. Now if the demon player has any experience, they're going to be removing models from the front of the unit as opposed to the back of the unit. So therefore this is going to now increase your charge range. So instead of an 8-inch charge, all of a sudden you potentially could have an 11-inch charge, which is very unlikely that you're going to be achieving it. So don't increase your charge range by shooting the same unit that you're basically going to charge at. Make use of your range attacks on different units. Number 4, don't walk into Overwatch. Another really common one here. With this example, we got some Lich Guard with the War Scythes, and we got a unit of Termagants with their Strength 5 Flesh Borers. Now this termagant can come in units of up to 30, so an average of 5/6s will be achieved if they were to overwatch. They are strength 5 minus 1 AP, so you may actually lose a Lich Guard model in this case. Now in some situations the overwatch isn't going to be that powerful, and some situations it's going to be a lot worse than this. Having only 5 strength 5 hits going through isn't too bad, to be honest, but there are a lot more deadlier units within the game that can do a lot more damage, and especially Tau in particular, because they get a free overwatch. So if you're going against Tau, they're going to be shooting you regardless. They're not going to pay any command points. Now the way to effectively nullify the situation is by charging through obscuring terrain or line of sight blocking terrain. Now in particular, if you're infantry swarms or beasts, you can be charging through those walls and through those terrain features, and you don't actually need line of sight to make that charge move, whereas of course the attacker with those ranged weapons will need line of sight against your models. So where you're able to, charge through terrain features. Number 5, don't throw away your characters. Another common mistake here is to throw away your characters when you're within 3 inches and you want to heroically intervene. So in this scenario, Drazar has made a charge move against 3 Canoptic Scab Swarms. Now there is an Overlord nearby within 3 inches, and he does have the option of heroically intervening if he wanted to. Now in some situations it's not the worst thing to do to heroically intervene, but sometimes you're literally throwing away your characters because you've made that charge move against Drazar in this example. So even though Drazar selected the Canoptic Scarab Swarms as the target of the charge, there was a heroic intervention by the Overlord, and now that also makes him a target of Drazar's attacks if he wanted to attack the actual Overlord. So a common error here is thinking that you can't be targeted because the Overlord wasn't actually a target of the charge. That's incorrect. If you do heroically intervene, you do now become a target, even though you were not selected as a target of the charge. So Drazar in this example can simply turn around, put all his attacks onto your Overlord, remove your Overlord before it's even got to fight, and yeah, your Scarabs aren't going to do much damage against Drazar in this situation. Number 6, very similarly, don't throw away your units. In this example, we've got 2 different units that are going to be making the charge move against some Orc guys. So we've got the Lich Guards with the swords and shields going up against a Killer Can, and we've got some flayed ones looking to make a charge against an Orc Warbiker. So let's presume that both of your units have actually made the charge. They've got into engagement range, not a problem. However, there is a little bit of a problem now because there is a stratagem called counter-offensive for 2 command points. And basically what this counter-offensive does, once you've fought with one of those units, before you get to activate the second unit in the fight phase, your opponent can effectively interrupt this, and instead of you fighting, they will be fighting. So in this example here, okay, they may get to remove that Killer Can because they fought first, but instead of your flayed ones actually going against that Orc Warbiker, that Warbiker can actually pay 2 command points to be able to fight first and then wipe out your flayed one's unit. So you've effectively thrown away a unit there unnecessarily. So before making your charge moves, always think, do I need to make 2 different charges in this actual charge phase? If it is really important, then hey, you've got to go for it. Your opponent has the decision to spend 2 command points or not spend 2 command points, but try to avoid it where possible. Number 7, we've got fighting through terrain. Not everybody is aware of exactly how the terrain features work. For less experienced players, it's still a little bit of confusion in general. Now the example I wanted to use in this video is the ruins. Now you've got the ruins and you've got the ruined walls. The actual ruins themselves are area terrain, scalable, breachable, light cover, defensible and obscuring. Those are the terrain traits that come with ruins. Now with the ruined walls, they're obstacles, not area terrain. They've got defense line, breachable, dense cover, defensible and unstable positions. So they've got slightly different traits to the actual ruins themselves. But one of them in particular is defense line. So if an enemy is within 1 inch of the terrain feature, you can still make a charge move against it as long as the charging unit ends its charge move touching the terrain feature and is still within 2 inches of the targeted unit. So effectively you can still fight through walls, providing that you're within 2 inches of the targeted units. So basically you gain an extra inch of engagement range if you're fighting through that ruined wall. Now notice that the terrain feature ruins does not have the defense line trait, it's only the ruined walls. So with this one, always agree with your opponent before the actual game begins which are ruins and which ones are ruined walls, because it makes a difference because of your light cover or your dense cover, especially the obscuring terrain trait. That could be a massive factor in the actual game. Okay, we're on to number 8, which is engagement range with terrain levels. So we're sticking with terrain for the moment, but this time we're talking about the actual ruins that have got different levels. Some common ruins have 1 or even 2 levels that models can be stood up on. So we all know about unit coherency with terrain levels, but do you know about engagement range of terrain levels? So you get 1 inch horizontally, which you'll already know, but there's also 5 inches vertically of enemy models. So you don't need to be fighting on the same level in that terrain feature. As long as you're 5 inches vertically and 1 inch horizontally, you can still be within engagement range and be selected to fight that enemy unit. It's quite a common misconception with this one in particular, but yeah, a 5 inch vertical and a 1 inch horizontal, you're good to go. Number 9, don't forget your unit coherency. So in this example, we got some more Lich Guard, we've got a unit of 6 of them, and they're going up against some Drukhari witches. So they've made the charge move, not a problem, they've all got into engagement range, they're all eligible to fight here. For whatever reason, we've done no damage to the actual witches themselves, and they've actually managed to kill 2 of our Lich Guard models. Now what you shouldn't be doing in this example here is taking away the 2 center Lich Guard models, because what's going to happen in the morale phase is you're not going to have models that are in unit coherency, and this can be absolutely brutal because you have to simply remove models that are not in unit coherency here. So with the example shown here, 2 Lich Guard models at the top of the screen and we've got 2 at the bottom of the screen as well, but there's quite a large gap in between the 2 groups here. So long story short, 2 of these models are going to have to go. There's going to be no saves, there's going to be no reanimation protocols. You've got to simply remove them from the battlefield in the morale phase and then the turn ends. So you just got to make sure when you're removing models that you've still got that unit coherency, and you definitely got to be keeping your eye out if you've got units of 6 or more, because you need to be in unit coherency of 2 models per model. Now admittedly I've made this mistake in the past with some Canoptic Wraiths. I've piled them into different areas trying to be clever, and I've lost unit coherency, and I've literally lost a couple of Canoptic Wraiths in my own morale phase, so it's quite easy to do in the heat of battle. Okay, but so before we get on to number 10, I just wanted to shout out our sponsor here today, which is the Magnet Baron. So the Magnet Baron are an online company that is pretty much selling magnets that are customized for your models. And this is going to make transporting your models a lot safer when you're going to your games and tournaments, because you simply remove them from the magnet stands, fold them all away into your safe transport baggage, and then when you want to play, you simply pop the magnets back onto the stands and away you go. Now in fact, only recently I've been to a game and my Canoptic Spider stands have snapped during transport, which is really annoying because you've obviously got to then fix the model, you've got to fix the stand, whereas the Magnet Baron specialises in these flight stands. If you do have these stands, you're never going to have these breakages again. Now they've got free shipping in the USA for any orders that are over $20, otherwise it's a flat $2.99 for the shipping for anything under $20 there. So if you're looking to get any magnet kits or just any general miniature building aids, then simply find the link in the description below, or you can simply just Google the Magnet Baron. Okay, moving back into the video, we got point number 10, which is try pointing enemy models. Now there's 2 parts to this. The first part is very simple. In this example, I've got 3 Canoptic Scarab Swarms and we've got a Space Marine Eradicator. Now these Canoptic Scarab Swarms have rolled a pretty decent charge with a 9, and what you want to be doing is pretty much surfing around this Eradicator model in a triangle position, otherwise known as tri-pointing. So from 3 points of the model, you're going to be locking it in, and this is going to be preventing that Eradicator from falling back. Now especially if it's an Ultramarine Eradicator, you don't want these guys falling back because they can still fire after falling back, so this is going to be a really handy tool for you to use to be locking enemy models in engagement range. Now there is the Desperate Breakout stratagem, but it's 2 command points and it is quite risky, but they will be able to fall back through enemy models. However, it very clearly says they can't manifest psychic powers, shoot, declare charge, or be selected to fight. And then furthermore, they've got to roll a d6 for every model in the unit, and on a result of a 1, the model will be destroyed. So this does come at a risk. If they want to sink command points into doing that, then that's up to them. Now part B of this point, I'm going to use the same example again. I've got 3 Canoptic Scarab Swarms, but this time I've got 3 Eradicators as opposed to 1. Now at this stage you're probably thinking, you can't try point 3 models, especially when they're spread out in this way. And you'd actually be incorrect here. Very similar to the previous example, do the exact same, try point just 1 single model. And here's why. Okay, so 2 of the Eradicators, they can simply move out, they can fall back, not a problem, but what about the third one? The third one cannot move out, it cannot fall back, and it will have to stay within engagement range, so therefore the entire unit cannot fall back. So just by try-pointing a single enemy model within a unit, you're preventing the entire unit from actually falling back, and it doesn't have to be a 3-man unit, it could be a 20-man unit. As long as you try-point 1 single model, they're not going anywhere. On to number 11, don't forget to base enemy models. Now what does basing mean? Now basing is simply going base to base in engagement range. And I'll explain why you need to not forget this. Now here's an example of an Ophidian Destroyer currently holding an objective, and then we've got a Lictor from the Tyranids faction only a few inches away. Now the Ophidian Destroyer wants to make a charge move while staying within range of the objectives, so he's still holding it. But from this scenario, as you can see, the Ophidian Destroyer has not got base to base with this Lictor model. Now providing that the Lictor model survives that fight phase, the Necron player will have now made quite a large mistake here. Because when it's time for the Lictor model to make its piling move, very similar to some earlier examples in this video, as long as it's going to the nearest enemy model, it can move up to 3 inches. So this Lictor model has now surfed all the way around, got into range of an objective, so now the objective is being contested before the Lictors even get into fight here. So what the Necron player in this case should have actually done is as follows. When they've made their charge move, they simply go base to base while still holding the objective. And if you read the pile-in section of the core rulebook, a model that is already touching an enemy model cannot move. So when it's the Lictor's turn to pile in, providing that it's still alive, it cannot make any movement whatsoever, therefore it cannot be jumping onto that objective. Now of course that doesn't mean to always base your enemy units. Maybe in this example, your model is the Lictor model and you're playing the Tyranids, you wouldn't want to base in this situation because you want to be surfing round to that objective. So always kind of situational, you just got to read the board before making that charge move. Okay, on to the final point, which is the fight first, fight last and fight again abilities within the 40k game. It's just something to be looking out for before you're actually making a charge move. Now, some units within the game have these kind of abilities. Now a common one is the Judiciar from the Space Marine Codex with its Temper Mortis ability. In the fight phase, an enemy unit within 3 inches of the model cannot be eligible to fight this phase until all your units have fought. So effectively they've made our unit fight last in this fight phase, which could actually be quite brutal because they cannot be activated and you can actually lose your unit before they've even got to fight here. Now coming more closer to home with the Nihilak dynasty, we've got a Warlord trait which is Precognitive Strike. At the start of the fight phase, if the Warlord is within engagement range of enemy units, it can fight first that phase. But very similar, although it is the complete opposite in the other sense, our Warlord can be fighting first regardless of who's made the charge or who's heroically intervened and whatnot. We're always going to be fighting first in that case. But of course other factions are going to have these kind of abilities, you've just got to be aware of them. Then the final one, sticking with the Necron Codex, the flayed ones in particular have got Storm of Lending Blades for 2 command points. It's a stratagem which effectively allows them to fight again. Again, other factions have got this kind of stuff. Khorne Berserkers come to mind here with their Blood for the Blood God ability, but there's plenty of other units within other factions that have got the fight again ability or stratagem, so just be aware of those again before making your charge moves. So guys, there's 12 common errors with Necrons in combat. If you've got any more to add, put them in the comments below. Also guys, if you have yet to subscribe, please hit that subscribe button down below. It's going to massively help get our video out to a wider audience, so I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Other than that guys, all that's left to say, thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.